If rumors are to be believed, we are about to get a bunch of cosmic in the Marvel Universe. That 2020 and particularly 2021 are going to be a lot of push into cosmic. Why? Why is this happening? Hey everybody, this is Perch, and comics follow certain themes. And one of the big rumors that we're hearing is that certainly with Marvel Comics and to some extent DC as well, although you could argue DC's already been there, is that we're going to get a big push into cosmic. We're going to be really tapping into the cosmic side of the Marvel Universe. And a lot of 2020 stories and 2021 stories are going to really focus around that area. And so, first off, I think what cosmic is means maybe different things to different people. You might look at the incoming Empire with a Y, because we spell fun. Um, that is for the kids. The Empire storyline is basically Kree Skrull war against Earth and kind of that sci-fi kind of adventure, but it seems to be about coming to Earth. It's very much a planetary thing. It's not like Annihilation and some of those events that we've seen in the past that I would call true cosmic books. But again, cosmic is in the eye of the beholder, whatever you want to call it. DC has been running their kind of evil wins, Doom storyline that has Perpetua and it has a lot of kind of cosmic elements to it. Everything centers back to Earth. But it certainly feels like, at least in DC, if you've been kind of following along with those books, the Justice League and kind of all that, it definitely feels like an otherworldly type of storyline that's going on. And so, why are comics doing this? Well, for Marvel, it probably has a lot to do with the fact that there's a little movie called Eternals at the end of the year that Marvel and Disney and so on are really hoping will be a big thing. It's probably their biggest risk beyond Guardians of the Galaxy, and I would argue probably more risky than Guardians of the Galaxy because Guardians did have some up and coming kind of talent attached to it that Eternals. That's not fair. You've got Angelina Jolie. You have some major characters in there, but it doesn't have the same kind of this is probably going to be a sure bet kind of feel. Eternals still has a lot of unknowns to it. So it's going to be up to Disney to kind of market this as here's why you should care about Eternals. But I think in the midst of all that, there's probably some synergy mandates to really dive into the cosmic side of things. And I think there's also, for whatever reason, there's just a desire on the part of Marvel that is not Jonathan Hickman and the X-Men side of the world to really kind of explore that side of things. I mean, Hickman went almost immediately into quote unquote cosmic with the Starjammers and with New Mutants, but it still felt very rooted in stories that you've heard before. And none of the characters and the situations and the things that are going on there feel abnormal if you're an X-Men fan. It feels very much in line with that universe. Whereas some of the other attempts, from what we're hearing, are going to be a little bit more, I don't know, shoehorned in or a little bit more pushing. Now, you'd expect something like Fantastic Four to always have a cosmic type element to it. You'd expect, I'm expecting a bunch of relaunch #1 issues of, more with Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer Black did very well in sense of being kind of critically acclaimed. People liked it, so definitely that means we're going to go to the well and we're going to suck it dry 8 million more times. The whole Null is coming from the Venom storyline has its, kind of like the You're the Villain stuff at DC. It's got a cosmic aspect to it, but it's also very rooted in the here and the now and in Earth. So I think there's some synergy things taking place. I also think things go in cycles, and it feels like we're wanting to kind of go back to that Infinity time period that Jonathan Hickman did with Avengers some almost 10 years ago now. That it's time to go back to that well a little bit. I think Disney is looking for how to expand the universe, and so I think that's just kind of what's going on with Cosmic. The bigger question is, can it work? I think Cosmic as a theme is, first of all, it's only as good as the stories that go along in it. You can have Cosmic with amazing storytelling and a really memorable storyline. I mean, if Infinity War was a cosmic storyline in a lot of respects, and it's fondly remembered. People like it. The Infinity Gauntlet. that stuff is very well received. The some of the other Infinity, that we recently did a kind of remember back to Annihilation and the Cancerverse and the Century was there and all the rest, and that kind of came and went without much notice. And that's an example of, you don't market behind it, you don't have a real compelling hook, and maybe it's something to pick up at the shop. I've been struggling a little bit with the idea of, Marvel and DC operating almost like boutique publishers in the sense that they're going to, throw an issue out there and, appeal to a few and not too many. And I feel like within the very company, this is a whole topic for a whole different video, so I won't go too deep into it now. But just feels like within the company, there's some companies, there's some confusion around: are we trying to serve a niche, or are we trying to go wide, or what are we trying to do exactly? It also feels like they've hired a bunch of talent that does not know how to go wide, that are really just all about serving the niche market and niche audiences and more specialized books. And it feels like both companies kind of realize that maybe that was a bad idea, or that's just maybe not, maybe they fell into that and they didn't mean to. But now it's why you see such kind of interesting efforts, almost I don't want to say panicky efforts, but just like, let's prop up whatever Jonathan Hickman's doing on X-Men. That seemed to do well. Let's give Donny Cates more of a range, do whatever he wants and tie in more things. There's almost a desperation to some of these attempts, and it feels like at least part of it is because there's a realization that their go wide strategy or their tap new market strategy has come across more niche than a budding boom business. I think that a couple things. I think Harley Quinn, when the character kind of first came out and got some, not first came out, but just got a bunch of popularity about 8 years ago or so, and that just started to really work for DC, Harley Quinn. And then I think Miss Marvel, when the first volume of that came out, and the trades were good, and there was like, oh, this is a new character that maybe we can do something with. I think there was a misread of what was actually happening within comics. I don't think they were tapping into the audiences that necessarily they thought. I think with Miss Marvel in particular, I think there are people going, aha, we found this gold mine of a new audience, a different audience. And so we want to exploit that audience. We want to gain a foothold and go wide there. And I think what maybe people didn't realize, because there's a very hard way to get focus groups or market data on this. I think that the realization is that the people who are buying Miss Marvel at the beginning, the first several issues, were not necessarily that new audience. They were the same old audience who was seeing that, hey, here's something new, and it was new and different, so they went for it. But it wasn't like they suddenly cracked the door open on a brand new whole segment they could go exploit. And so when they tried to widen that, they discovered that that new audience, that bigger audience, wasn't there. It was the same old audience they were tapping. That's just my perspective. I may be wrong about that, but that's kind of how it's felt with some of these. And Cosmic really feels like it's the same kind of thing. It's something that appeals to a few people. Annihilation, the first series, did well, and we had kind of these storylines that were new and different. We're tapping into a whole batch of characters that just don't have the kind of airtime that much of Marvel's roster does. And so it was like, hey, let's do more Cosmic. Hey, there's an audience here that loves sci-fi and cosmic, so let's go at it. And I think that's the mistake was, no, that's actually the same audience. It's the same people. There a couple of 10% of the same old audience bought it, and it was something kind of new and fresh. So instead of 2% buying it, 10% bought it, and you guys made a mistake in thinking you'd gotten somewhere new where you got to the same place. I don't know if I'm making my point clear. I don't know if I'm making a very good point here, but simply that Cosmic, I think, is, you can definitely tell good stories into it, but I don't think it's a genre in and of itself. I don't think you can just slap Cosmic on it and then suddenly a bunch of comics get sold. I think you have to, it's a little bit more to it than that, a little bit more work. I think a lot more marketing and branding and characters people care about. I don't think you can just say we're into sci-fi now and we're grabbing that Doctor Who sci-fi audience. It's not that simple. Anyway, maybe it's just me. Are you looking forward to the Cosmic books? Are you looking forward to Eternals? Has Cosmic kind of always been your jam, whether it's Marvel or DC or whatever? And what do you want? Do you want a Cosmic book more like the Infinity War? Do you want something more like or the Infinity Gauntlet? Do you want something more like a Saga? I mean, those are both cosmic, very, very different cosmic. So which one are you after? Or are you like me that you don't really care? You just want a good story. You know, you're like, if the story is good and the art's good and I like reading the comic, then I don't care whether it's dystopian sci-fi or romance cosmic or blood cosmic. I mean, whatever you're gonna do. If the story's great, the eyeballs will come. In particular, mine. So maybe that's you. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think about Cosmic as a genre and what you think about the companies currently pursuing it. Would love to know your opinions. Like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at Comic Perch, and thanks for listening.